Hello, my friends. Katie Day with the Moving to Texas team here with another episode of the Real Advice podcast. I'm excited for this week's guest because we're going to dig into a lot of different things. I feel like she is the wearer of all hats for Florida Lifestyle Realty. She is a broker and does all things, like literally all of the things: marketing, operations, agent development, agent recruiting. The list goes on and on. Outside of that, she's got a really awesome Instagram because we're Instagram friends and I enjoy following her. But she goes all in on CrossFit. So I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about mental discipline and fortitude. She meal preps and does all of those types of things. So we enjoy that. And she's a badass realtor as well. So please join me in welcoming Christina Griffin. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Katie? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining. So I feel like today's going to be a little bit different because I know your role at the brokerage is, again, kind of like you do all of the things, but you're more ops than sales. And so for someone that doesn't know you, how did you kind of get into real estate and get to kind of where you are today?
So back in 2010, my mom she started a team. She feels like she was the originator of teams and she needed some help. So I said, sure, I'll come help you for a little while and fast track that 13 years. We opened our own brokerage and I'm licensed and doer of all things.
Yeah. So that, like, let me help you out and get things organized for a little bit, turned into a 13-year basically career. And you're being super humble because you do pretty much like all of the ops stuff, for the brokerage. And so, yeah, you're being super humble. But anyways, at what point did you get your license when you first started kind of helping out, or was it kind of just like, hey, I'm going to help out for a little while, and then it turned into, okay, like in order to be able to do more things, I now need a license?
So I came in as her TC, transaction
Okay.
coordinator, and I was successfully helping her through hundreds of deals with her team.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? It was about 2 years in. I said I should probably get my license. And so that's what led me to do it. I saw what a mess she had going on, which I think is, a lot of real estate agents
Yeah.
wearing many hats and not having that organizational mindset.
For
And
sure.
so I stepped in and realized where I was needed. It was a hot mess. So it was my mom, and I felt like it was a passion project, but then I realized like I could really provide value and do something in the space. So it was never a dull moment, and stuck with it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and so as far as when people are hiring agents, right, or hiring people to help them, right, thinking about it now, would you recommend to someone if they're hiring a TC to like hire a licensed TC just so like that kind of shortens that process that you had, like looking back on it now?
Oh, yes, I would not hire an unlicensed person now. So everyone on my staff is licensed except for my marketing team.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so 13 years ago, back in 2010, was it just all agents and you were the first kind of admin side of things, or what did it look like then as far as like the
No,
team?
so mom was super ahead of her time, very progressive. She had a TC, she had a listing coordinator, and listing coordinator was kind of slash marketing person.
Okay.
And so it was just the two of these two roles that she had started with.
Okay. And then so at the time she didn't have any agents on the team, it was just her and then that the admin support.
I think she had about 4 or 5 real estate
Okay.
agents working with her. She would get really busy and then she'd go to the front desk where somebody was working floor, is how I think it went, and she was like, "Hey, I'm really busy. Can you help?"
And then they like just suddenly were then on her team, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how a lot of teams start. So I'm sure y'all's hiring process now is slightly more selective than that. Is that the
Yes.
case? So what is that? Let's dig into that a little bit. What does y'all's hiring process look like? Because I feel like for a lot of brokerages, like the bigger box brokerages, it's like, hey, you have a license, like you're not a complete asshole, come work with us, right? As a broker owner and boutique brokerage, like I feel like there's probably a little bit more steps in your hiring process?
Yeah, we try not to put too many steps in there because I think once you know, you know. We've talked to so many agents, and you kind of figure out, who really would fit in with the team. Um, and I think the thing that we look for the most is somebody who has a really big heart. So somebody who's really caring. We feel like that's the person that'll go farther on a deal and do the right thing, which sometimes is passing on a deal.
Yeah.
Um, I'm very big on having really high ethics on our team. So there's no questionable uh, questionable people in there.
Yeah.
But we do have a huge variety. You couldn't look at one of my team members and say, "Oh, you belong with this team because this group looks like this way." We have huge diversity on our team, so it's a magical little group of people. And we kind of pick out, or sometimes they come to us. A lot of
Yeah.
our agents come to us by way of they were a client,
Okay.
or a client suggests that they come talk to us. They go, "Oh my God, this was my realtor, best person in the world. You've got to meet them." And then once we, three of us on leadership decide that, yes, this is a good fit. Well, actually, it's two out of three. Once two of us decide, yes, this is a good fit, then onboarding happens.
That's interesting, as far as like having a little bit of a consensus, right? The two of three are having a majority vote. Because I feel like a lot of times, you get along with people that have similar personalities to you, right? And so sometimes, like,
Yeah.
if we're meeting and it's like, oh man, like, I'm like, oh, Christina's so awesome or whatever. It's like, it's because I enjoy talking to you and I enjoy being around you. And the other people are like, well, she did this, 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 and this. Like, she's not a fit for the team, and
Yeah.
it's like sometimes you don't see that. So having another set of eyes is always helpful.
Yeah.
I always tell like individual agents, like if you can have your broker sitting on an interview or, someone else to help in that process, it helps because you sometimes get blinders on to good and bad things.
Yeah.
Um, so as far as, kind of you said 10 years ago had the listing coordinator, had a transaction coordinator, and then a couple of agents. What has the structure and, of the brokerage, what does that look like today? Right. And then like as you've grown, I assume that the admin team has grown as well, maybe a little bit. So what does that kind of look like from like your admin side of things as you've scaled?
So right now, aside from the sales side, we also have a property management business.
Okay.
So that runs alongside with us. But we have brick and mortar. And so one of my marketing girls also sits front desk, just kind of be that receive keys. Somebody comes in to sign something. And I didn't think about this, but in the evolution of time, now there's a lot of the online brokerages that don't even have that. So that's come to become like an actual asset to have somebody that's actually manning the building at all times. But we have two others on the marketing team. One is videographer, photographer, and the other is like mostly social. And then currently we just have two transaction coordinators, um, and currently do not have a listing coordinator. Just signs of the times and what's going on listing wise. The volume's not quite where it's necessary. We can kind of
Yeah.
get away with it,
Have
though.
have the TCs and marketing help out with that.
Yeah. Though these last few weeks, I'm like, uh-oh, I got to put an ad out.
It's yeah, things as things pick up.
Yeah.
And it's always helpful to have team members kind of cross trained, right? So that like they can help with getting things ordered and having, photo and video on staff is helpful.
Yeah.
I feel like you guys from what I see on y'all's social, I feel like y'all utilize, like the listing videos and drone footage from those and different things from those, like in other posts and in other things. So I always think that that's like a clear indicator when like people have on staff positions like that because it's like their marketing, like they utilize it to a lot higher extent than like you just paying a random photographer or video guy for like a video here and there kind of thing. um I had a question when you were telling me about your staff that was on the tip of my tongue and now I forget what it was. um
I left
what
someone out. I
Oh
I should
no,
mention. Well,
who'd
she's the
we
most
forget?
important. It's my partner. But she's also dubbed as like sales team manager, which is probably the most important role when it comes to the division of like me overseeing the operational side and then her
Yeah.
overseeing the sales side. So I don't always think of her when I think of staff because she's just my other half.
Yeah. Nicole.
Yeah.
I won't tell her that you forgot about her.
Oh, she's gonna listen to this and be like, I can't believe you forgot me. I did
Yeah.
not forget you.
You just hadn't gotten there yet. We were focusing in
Exactly.
on the other portion, the admin portion of the operations portion, not the sales portion yet.
Thank you.
So, yeah, you could you couldn't forget her. I had a really good question, and I should have written it down because now it has left my brain and I don't remember what it is. But um, as y'all are hiring admin staff, oh, I remember what it is. So to walk me through the process a little bit of the property management, right? And so do y'all do property management, like short-term management, long-term management, both? Like, what does that look like?
So we mostly it's a long term, so 3 months or longer. We also just opened a short term company.
Okay.
So that's, I mean, she's very fresh,
Yeah.
but she's got like, I think 5 signed right now. And so I'm expecting that to be a great um, complement to what we offer.
Yeah,
It's
for
not in
sure.
our brokerage, it's a separate company, but it's something that nobody else offers here in the area. So I'm really excited. And one of the girls, she was my mom's like executive assistant, and she's kind of graduated, grown, and taken over this whole other side of the industry. Actually, going to an event that I think you were at in Vegas last year, listening to a lot of other people talk about it, and she's done a lot of work, and we're really excited to launch it.
That's cool. How long have y'all had the property management side of things?
I think like 9 years now.
Okay. What advice would you give to someone that wants to launch a property management arm of their business? Because I feel like that's something that, like, especially in like the coaching world, and things like that, people are always like, oh, like you need to have ancillary services, you need to have other, arms. You can't just buy and sell houses, you need to do other things, right? And so that's where people, start short-term rental things, they
Yeah.
start property management companies, they start, they do JVs with title companies and things like that. So like I feel as if there are a lot of things that you need to do, but like what advice would you give to someone if they were starting a property management arm of their business?
So for us personally, property management is not the most fulfilling business. It's not one where people are super excited. It's not one where, tenants call usually when there's a problem, and owners usually only call when there's a problem.
Yeah.
And so I would say to be prepared, to be proactive in touching your people. So that way you're not just getting this inbound of not the most excited phone calls all the time. You do
Yeah.
need thick skin to deal with property management. And whoever you're going to have run it needs to be able to stay cool, calm, and collected under all different circumstances, because you get all kinds of things thrown at you. Um, so that would be my advice. For us, we live here on the Space Coast in Cocoa Beach. We have a lot of people that buy second and investments. And so having this service is really for our clients. It wasn't necessarily, and we still don't advertise it as a business where, we're trying to manage every door. I do think being selective in the properties that you manage is super smart. We want owners that take good care of the properties.
Yeah.
And so I think, having your vision and being certain to execute on it all the time. And, if it doesn't feel right, you probably don't want to deal with it.
For sure. I think the two biggest takeaways are, hiring someone, right? So like this shouldn't be something that you're adding on to your business that you're trying to also manage, right? Having someone who's a dedicated property manager, right? And so if you don't have the salary funds yet to pay for it, that may not be something that you want to start tomorrow, right? Because it's going to have to cost money to start a property management arm of your business, and then not necessarily saying yes and managing every single property. That's actually one of the property management companies that we work with here. Like it's not mine, it's whatever. It's a person that I know that runs it, like they don't take everything, right? And like if it's too far out from their home base, they don't take it. Unless there's 5 or 10, doors kind of thing, and they are selective sometimes on the actual properties themselves, right? Because if it's run down, you're just gonna have pissed off tenants all the time, and
Yeah.
that's not something that is very fun.
Mm-mm.
All right. So switching gears a little bit, you, I feel like are someone that is one of the more disciplined people that I know in my life, right? As far as working out and as far as, like meal prepping and just like doing the stuff that no one really wants to do, but knowing that like it gets you the results that you want. Fun fact, I think is the first time we met was at CrossFit, yeah?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think we had met before that. So Christina and I actually did CrossFit together, I guess in Vegas, was it?
Mm-hmm.
At
Yeah.
a real estate conference. And we got up early and drug a bunch of people with us to a CrossFit gym and worked out. And so um let's talk a little bit kind of about mindset and stuff. Have you always been super driven and like work out all the time, or is this something newer in your life? What does that look like kind of as far as your outlook?
So the working out part was not a big part of my life. I It was post COVID. Somebody actually on my team kept posting Zumba videos, and I was like, that kind of looks like fun. Like if I was going to go to a gym, like that seems like a fun way to do it. Um, I was also an avid tequila drinker, and I was like, oh, like a shot of tequila and like go dance. Like this sounds like fun. Hey, I'm just being honest. I think
Yeah, no, I
everybody's
like
journey
it.
starts somewhere.
Yeah,
And so I got into Zumba, and then my husband would work out in the gym while I was in the Zumba
yeah,
class. Zumba got canceled, so I was like, all right, I'll go see what he's doing. We played around on machines, and we just talked about this the other day. He's like, you didn't want to rest between sets. So I'm like a natural CrossFitter. We're like, no rest, let's go.
yeah.
It awoken the beast inside of me. And then we signed up for CrossFit, and I was like, I will never spend an hour dancing and doing cardio again in my whole entire life.
It's really funny that you say that because the, first time we ever worked out together was at a CrossFit gym. So like I didn't know that like, wasn't, what you'd been doing for a very long time. So I find it funny that your segue into like your fitness journey was through Zumba. So that is a very interesting a journey to where you are today.
Hey, I hope, I wish that I had tried it sooner.
Yeah.
And I hope that if any narrative could lead you down that path, like let it be the girl that was like, I'm just going to go dance for a little while. And now, like, I love lifting heavy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the thing that I like just about group fitness, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be CrossFit, but like any sort of like cross training or group fitness classes, like one is the accountability, right? So like most people will find a time of day that they enjoy working out. So whether that's in the morning or afternoon or midday or whatever, like, and then the other part of it is like the accountability of the people there, and then like the community around that too, right? Like if you normally work out at 6 a.m. and you don't show up for the 6 a.m. class, you've got people texting you. They're like, hey, what, like, where are you at? What happened this morning? So those are
Yeah.
the accountability, and then the community I think are huge. And for me, it carries into like, my work life as well and things like that.
Yeah. I think vulnerability happens in that room too. You don't realize, like, we all go in there and you look at this workout, and we're all like, everybody's got their own version of like, oh God, this is going to go horribly wrong.
Yeah,
But we're willing to try it. We all are willing to like go full ham in this room next to each other. So I think it's got that other aspect too
for
that
sure.
carries along with you.
Yeah. I just find it crazy that that's like been what, like a 3-ish year, 4-year journey for you.
So
You're
I've
saying
been
like,
in CrossFit. Next month is my 2-year anniversary.
okay. Yeah. Very cool.
I
Very
hadn't
cool.
been doing it that long, and I was just totally addicted. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go to this conference. How do I find some like-minded people? I posted CrossFitter seeking CrossFitter. And that's what
And
you
I answered
responded
and I
to.
answered the call.
It's perfect.
That's so funny. Yeah. Yeah. It's always interesting too, because I think that we went to a CrossFit class at like 6 a.m. in Vegas. One of my favorite things is catching early morning Ubers to get to the airport, or I mean, I hate it, but catching, an Uber to the airport or to a gym or something like that. And you've got like the people that are rolling in at 6 a.m., from drinking all night and gambling. And then you've got people that are like going out for runs. It's just like my favorite time in Vegas. It just cracks me up because, I now am on the going on a run or, working outside of things, not the drinking until 6 a.m. So always funny.
Yeah, you have to walk across the casino floor, and it is
Yeah.
all kinds of things to see.
Yeah. It's hilarious. It's the best. It's literally the best time of day.
Yeah.
Because 2 p.m. it's just kind of awkward. All right, so switching gears a little bit, but kind of staying on the same like development route and things like that. As far as personal development, what are things that you like read or listen to or watch, or like what are you into right now as far as like your personal kind of business development or personal development?
So I think I overloaded on a lot of that. And I think it's easy to do. If it wasn't personal development, I didn't want to touch it. I was just on this really hardcore journey for a very long time. And I think 2023 has just been like a lot of just because I haven't been on this journey for that long, but realizing like this is who I am now.
Yeah.
I quit drinking this year, and that's been a self development journey on its own. You don't realize what like, oh, long rough day. I'm gonna have a beer real quick. You can like shut off what's happening, and real estate's very hectic. I think there's such a whole thing about real estate and drinking. You go to events and it's like, oh, I have to have a glass of wine. Oh my God, I'm a
Yep.
realtor. How could I not? It's kind of this whole story that goes along with it, which now drives me a little crazy. Um, but learning how to deal with life as it's happening and not ever shut it off and kind of move through those things. So my self development has been my therapist. She's terrific. I will say, I think that for a lot of people, being a realtor in a town and having, any kind of I don't want to say like celebrity, but to a certain extent, people know who you are. And it's not very comfortable to say, I'm going to go find a therapist down the street and they can hear my whole story. You don't really want to open up to someone. And I know it's not about mental health in that way, but I found someone via teletherapy that's in a different area than me. And I think that's a great little tidbit for anyone who's like, therapist curious maybe. um,
Yeah.
and you don't want to go shop in your backyard because it can be weird. They're getting your postcards. Like you don't also want to share with them everything's going on. You'd like to sell their house. So I have a therapist that's in a different area completely. She's terrific. I interviewed her too. I was like, tell me a little bit about yourself. She's very active. And like, I'm like, okay, we can talk.
Yeah.
Um, but that's kind of been my self-development has been really focusing on taking care of my body, taking care of my mind.
Yeah.
Of course, I have a couple of, you know, podcasts I like to listen to that are like health related. But
Yeah.
I'm staying off of the books right now.
No, that's the phrase "you can't pour from an empty cup," right? Is rings so true. And making sure that you're kind of taking care of yourself, because if you're not taking care of yourself, how can you show up for others?
Yeah.
And you're just kind of burning the candle at both ends there. So super important there. Um, for sure. Completely unrelated question. Kind of related but unrelated. What's your favorite meal prep food? This is just me out of my personal curiosity.
So I like switching it up. I just
Yeah.
kind of think like, huh, what protein do I want next week? I feel like, and then I just go online. I'm like, meal ideas for, I don't know, ground turkey. And it's like 21 best meals with ground turkey. And I kind of like sift through and find some inspiration. I always have pulled rotisserie chicken in the fridge.
Oh yeah.
I do
Easy.
love a little easy quick taco. So good. Um, you just take a little cheese, you put it in the pan, you put the tortilla on top, you toast it, gets it crunchy, put in your chicken, a little pico on top, hot sauce.
There
It's
you go.
easy.
Have you utilized Chat GPT at all for meal prepping?
I looked at it once, but I'm actually not a bad cook, and so I could like read through that real quick. I tried. I was like, I think I was looking up like an Alfredo sauce, and I was like, give me the best Alfredo recipe. And then I was like, tell me the top 5 ingredients to make like the best Alfredo sauce to try to like mix the two together.
Yeah.
It was trash. It was trash.
Well, I mean, and like, cream and cheese, it's like
Like
how
all you need.
creative could they have gotten, with their response? But I've seen some people saying that like they've been utilizing ChatGPT of like, these are the ingredients I have, not having to purchase more than X amount more ingredients at the grocery store, give me, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could go on for hours on this, but I digress. That was just like something that whenever I see you meal prep, I'm like, ooh, that looks good. Ooh, like I want that recipe. If you don't link it like in the story, I'm like, give me this one. Where'd you find that one? Where can I Google this from?
I do feel like I should probably share more of that with people. So if anybody's got questions, hit me up. I'm happy to help you.
For sure. And all of the food that she makes looks super tasty. So that's good as well. Because for me, I find that if I meal prep, I tend to have a great idea in my head and then the execution isn't great. And then I'm just like eating slop all week. And I'm just choking it down and hate myself. So making tasty meal prep is very important. All right, switching gears back to real estate. We talked a little bit about ops, talked a little bit about how y'all have grown the organization. Just for my kind of knowledge and framing kind of my question, as far as the brokerage, again, we talked about like a lot of brokerages, it's just like you have a license, so you're in, right? And y'all do interviews, you make sure people, are intelligent and kind and have ethics and things like that. Do y'all operate more kind of like a teamerage? Like, do you guys have regular meetings? Do y'all like provide leads and things like that? Or is it just like, hey, you're hanging your license here?
We provide everything.
Okay.
Um, everything. It's literally plug and play. Like you can be a very successful agent and not want to take on all of the extra work anymore. Maybe you don't want to put your listings in MLS anymore and you don't
Yeah.
want to have to do your own social, like you can drop all that and come work. Or you could be a brand new agent and have no clue about any of those things. And we can plug you in and get you going.
Oh, and now I remember my question from before that I forgot earlier when you said that you had like a TC or two TCs or whatever. Do y'all just include that with any listings and that's part of like monthly split fees, all the things, or is it like optional to use the TC?
All of the things are included,
Yeah.
and the
Okay.
TC works for the brokerage. Just, I mean, we've got to have the paperwork.
Yeah.
She does more than that, but
Well, but
yeah,
I mean that's such a important part when you're the final line of the defense, like for final line of defense for compliance, right? Like we have our TCs for the team and then we have our broker that's reviewing them, but like when y'all are the broker, I can see why
yeah,
you would have someone else
yeah.
doing that. So, makes sense.
And she's super helpful. You know, when an agent has their phone ringing and they're out showing and they're doing things, and then a addendum is needed,
Yeah.
it's very nice to call the TC and she can help you get an addendum out.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
will say we do though run as Team Rich. Like I don't have any independent agents in there. Over the years, we've tested it out, and it just didn't really fit our model. And we recently dug really deep into our P&L and our whole business model and looked to see like, hey, could we, provide a track of some independence from the team? And at the end of the day, my partner and I were not interested in an agent that's struggling, not getting all the services that the team gets. And so
Yeah.
we decided we're team. That's just how we do it.
Yeah, but just happened to be the brokerage as well. So yeah, I mean, and
Yeah.
that's I feel like so much more common now, right? Um, Especially with high production teams, they
Yeah.
end up a lot of times, opening kind of their own shop, but it is the team and it is the brokerage,
Yeah.
kind of all in one. So that makes sense. One thing that I think that y'all do really well is being involved in the community. And so between events and like giving back and things like that, it seems like you'll do that very frequently. So what advice would you give to someone if they were looking to kind of step up their game, right, in kind of community involvement?
I think that you can make a huge impact without doing that much. Like it's not, it doesn't have to be as strenuous as some people make it out to be.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that we do, we're partnered with a local elementary school. The school doesn't really ask for much. And when they do, it's very small asks. You know, they needed extra walkie talkies for safety, you know, and these
Yeah.
things don't cost a ton of money. But when you look at the importance of them, like, oh my gosh, yes, like that's easy for us to deliver on. And so we've made a huge impact with our local elementary school just by listening to what their needs are and delivering on them versus, you know, trying to come up with a whole movie night for the kids or an egg hunt or, you know, all these other things, which don't get me wrong, they're terrific and they work for a lot of people. But for us, you know, not having somebody who's focused on just events, you know, as part of all the hats that are being worn, it's like, how can we make a big impact on in our community? And our elementary school has really been a great source for that.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think that we always try to have our events, and I mean it's different because your market geography is slightly smaller, right, than Houston, but like we always have ours in our farm, right? So we pick the specific area where we do a lot of business. And like, I mean, y'all can do the same. So like, just to clarify for people listening, Space Coast of Florida, right? East coast of Florida, where all do y'all cover?
So we cover the majority of Brevard County. It's
Okay.
72 miles long. So we've got a ton of little towns here and there.
Yeah.
All of the beaches, Cocoa Beach, Cape Canaveral, Merritt Island, Satellite Beach, Merritt Island's actually inland, Melbourne Beach, and then some areas inland like Merritt Island, Cocoa, Titusville, which is a really cool area. Um, but yeah, the whole Space Coast is our
Yeah.
area.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And for people that may not know, why is it called the Space Coast?
We launch rockets. We put people in space. We put satellites in space. People are like, "Oh my gosh, can you really hear them?" I'm like, "Yes, I can hear them every time they launch. I can see it. All you got to do is look up. It's pretty cool." We have a really cool industry here.
Yeah. I I didn't know that until like I had some family. Despite living in Orlando for a couple of years, I didn't know how much kind of industry y'all had. With like aerospace and like, NASA and SpaceX and all that kind of stuff. And then like the port is out there, so that you've
Yeah.
got like just a lot going on that I was unaware of. So
Yeah,
it's
our
pretty cool.
cruise terminal is bigger than Miami. We are busier
Really?
than Miami with cruise ships. Yep. We just got that. I think it was in January was when we hit the mark, but insane amount of people in and out on the cruise ships. We've got Disney, Carnival, Royal Caribbean. There's quite a few of them out there. I think we have like 6 different cruise lines here.
So if you're going on a cruise and need some ideas of things to do before that, hit Christina
Hit me
up.
up.
All right. If it were your last meal on earth, what would you be eating?
Oh my God, probably a bone-in ribeye. I love a big steak. Lots of good fat on it.
Oh yeah. So tasty. I would agree. That's like
So good.
that's my favorite cut of meat. So I
Yeah.
would agree on that. Good choice. For those that may not follow you, Christina, where is the best place for them to connect with you?
Instagram is where I live. I'm the C Tina show. I should put that handle on here somewhere.
The C Tina Show on Instagram. Awesome, Christina. Well, I appreciate your time today, and for sharing. And I look forward to seeing you sometime soon, hopefully.
Thanks, Katie. I appreciate your time.